Welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast, the podcast that is at least delighted that we don't have to play Kilmarnock again this season. This week on Heart and Hand, what? In 4 weeks? Welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. My name's David Edgar, and against my better judgment, I've been persuaded this week to let on two of the young team. They are on the bizarrely popular patronising show on our Patreon network. Do you see what they did there with the name? It's the biggest contrast in couples since Beauty and the Beast. It's the Paisley peasant and the posh public schoolboy. First of all, the man with a punchable voice, Mr. James Forrest.
Hello there, David.
And his Lady in the Tramp style companion, Mr. Chris Bett. Hello, Chris.
Hello, David. Hello, James.
So, gentlemen, let's start at Saturday, a natural break in the season. And for once, I think a lot of the Rangers supporters are not too unhappy to be going into an international break. The team failed to win for the fourth match in a row. A bit of a slump in form with a 1-1 draw at home to Kilmarnock, a match that, apart from the fact that it was Kilmarnock and we very much have seen these games before, it was a type of match that we'd seen several times already this season. Rangers with pretty much all the ball, struggling to break down a resolute, packed Kilmarnock defence. Kilmarnock looking to see if they could get us on a break or score off a mistake, which of course they did. Rangers conceding a very poor goal in the first half, just a long ball over the top and then mistakes all over the shop defensively, allowing McElhaney in to score. Rangers do come back in the second half, but it takes a moment of sublime quality from the best player in Scotland, Alfredo Morelos, with a stunning turn, and either he meant it or it was still lightning quick reactions to his touch. Regardless, it was still very impressive, and then a brilliant finish for one each. 25 minutes to go, Rangers looked confident of going on and getting the victory, but it never materialised. And yet again, James, leaving Ibrox with that feeling of we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot here.
Yeah, it's all down to us. It's all down to our missed opportunities and players kind of being caught on their own heels when the ball's almost been like played through to them or played into an area they can run onto and tap in. Incredibly frustrating, and the biggest frustration is we knew how we were going to play. We knew the setup. When the lineup comes out, yes, there's different players in there, but it's the same setup. And teams like Kilmarnock, like Aberdeen, like Hibs, they find that very, very easy to play against. We look good when we're playing against the lower level sides in the league, and that's fine. But the biggest annoyance among so many fans at the moment, I think, is we just don't seem to have any form of other plan going on at the moment, other way of playing, another way that can deal with two banks of four that are just going to be so tight and so difficult to break down that really the only thing we can do is just pass it along the penalty area and hope that an area appears, and more often than not it doesn't. That's the thing that I find most frustrating, and that's why, as you say, I'm glad we've got this opportunity now to hopefully in the training ground work on something a bit different that we can at least try and look at for the rest of the season.
This is something that Martin and I spoke about on Extra last week, where I know that as fans we tend to think that they go away and they work in a training ground and it just changes, and I don't think football's like that. I think it's like anything, it evolves over time. And to be honest, with the squad that we currently have, I don't think it's kitted out really to do anything. We all come away from these matches saying we desperately need a number 10 type, we desperately need a creative midfielder, and the fact is that we do. Also to that, I thought, Chris, on Saturday they looked tired. I thought mentally, possibly physically, I don't know, but certainly they look mentally tired, and I think that's why guys like Kent, Candace, nothing at all in their game sparkles right now.
Yeah, I think when you look at tiredness, the one man who kind of personifies that the most is Connor Goldson. I think he just looks spent.
Yeah, he does. He get done for pace
Yeah.
3 times at the weekend, and in a way you wouldn't expect him to.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I can't remember him ever being done for pace like that, especially 3 times in a one match.
Oh yeah, not
Uh,
so often. No.
it just,
I wonder if he was carrying. I think a few of them have been carrying a knocks, and this goes back again something that we've talked about the manager having players that he trusts, but Goldson could really do with this 2 week out the
yeah.
side.
Yeah, and I agree with you with Kent as well. He's not been as effective as what he was. Certainly before the break. He just looks like kind of devoid of ideas. He does the same thing, and I think that comes with just tiredness mentally and physically as well.
Yeah, this has been a big season for the likes of. I mean, it's a big season in terms of games played for anybody, but for a lot of these guys who have never had a season like this in their career, I think that unfortunately, and I'm not excusing it because obviously they're still getting paid, the desire still to go out and win. I'm just saying that clearly there's a few of them who are struggling to adapt to the reality of being at a huge club with massive expectations.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, Ryan Kent, has he played as many games as this in a season? I don't think so. Connor Goldson, he was out for the best part of 2 years, really. He's not played this many games. Then you look at the other players that come in. Well, Arfield, you would say that he has played this number of games, but he just doesn't seem to be able to keep himself fit.
I think that was the manager sort of admitting that Jack and Arfield had played through the pain barrier, if you like, the last few weeks. And I think we'd noticed that in terms of a drop-off in their performances. And yeah, it's great that they're willing to do that and everything, but I think that we saw the negative effect it can have on the side. Stephen Davis returned to the midfield at the weekend, James, and he came in alongside the lesser-spotted Lasana Koulibaly, heart and hands on, of course. I was a little surprised to see him in the side ahead of Ross McCrory. And the argument is it's not having a Ross McCrory type player there that was the difference in this. Again, it was a lack of creativity in the last third, which I do understand. But for me, that the midfield three with Glenn Kamara, at times they basically stood in a line. And then we did have that, as Chris alluded to, we had the square pass out to wing back. The first half, I felt they tried to play much more through the middle. By the second half, they saw it wasn't working and they abandoned it and tried to use the wings a little more. But I think there was noticeably from the Aberdeen game where it was just get it wide, aimless cross, get it wide. I thought that at the weekend they did try to vary it up a little. It just did not work. Stephen Davis, I thought, kept at it and worked hard, but his game's miles off for whatever reason at the moment.
We did play a lot more through the middle, and thank goodness, because when we did go wide, I thought, we were just poor. The crosses in were not there. Guys were getting, closed down too quickly for them to be able to do anything. So at least we were trying that through the middle. But what we were severely lacking was that number 10 that will thread the pass, will find those wee gaps that can get the attackers the ball in the area. That's what we thought Stephen Davis was going to do. We were talking about that before the January window. It's like, who can we get in that's going to be that player? And most, if not all, Rangers fans said Stephen Davis was that guy. He could do that. But he's a different player now than what he was when we had him before. And we're seeing that. And as much as he's still the hard worker, don't think his passing's there. I don't think his, that eye is there as much anymore. And that's the thing that's costing us is not having that player that can just sit there and be the passer of the ball. Ryan Kent has sometimes played as a number 10 and can be good because of his unpredictability and his speed and the trickery that goes on there. But still, that's not the player that we need. We're desperately missing that, and it's too late now. It's too late for us to go and get that. We just have to accept that and hope that when the summer comes, that's something we can look to bring in for hopefully quite a healthy war chest based on guys that might go out. Because I think we're vitally needing that.
Yeah, the problem that I think we have with that is there's really only two guys who can bring in significant funds, and they're very important to us, although they had differing fortunes at the weekend, Chris. I thought that was one of Tav's poorest performances of the season. He just could not get going at all in an attacking sense. Nothing was coming off for him, as James mentioned. The crossing wasn't there. And defensively, he had a bit of a howler. I thought him and Goldson down our right-hand side were a bit of a bomb scare at the weekend. And again, to me, it was just tiredness. He was doing things almost by rote. He didn't have the spark or the invention that you would hope for. And it becomes clear that, I know that people have their concerns about Tav, and he can be frustrating at times. And I don't want to get into the whole captaincy thing because we've done it to death. But you do notice when he's not doing what he does for us, how much we seem to rely on our right back as a creative hub.
Yeah, well, we're not the same team. It's quite. I think Adam said it. His output is just outstanding when you look at it when it comes to assists and goals. And if he's not at it, which he wasn't on Saturday, we aren't the same team at all. We're not a threat down that right hand side. And if he's not at it attacking wise and he's not at it defensively, it becomes almost a bit of a kind of liability, which he was on Saturday. I mean, the whole back four, apart from Katic, I think Katic is the only one that actually gets pass marks. Just labouring and lethargic. But I think to Tav's defence, he's played a lot of football this year. A hell of a lot of football.
Yeah.
And we all said after the Celtic game, yeah, the break's come at the right time. Tav is definitely one of the ones that needs it. And since the break, I've not seen a freshness in him. I think he's just almost been the same kind of tiredness, and yeah, he'll do flashes of absolute brilliance.
Because he's very talented, yeah.
Yes,
absolutely.
exactly. It will come through, but not as consistent as it was at the early stages of the season. So it just comes back to as a fan, you're just frustrated, and you obviously sometimes don't actually take it into consideration. These guys are just, human beings, but we're all of the mindset they get paid a good amount of money. They should be getting out there with the best mentality to win football matches, and when it doesn't happen, that's when we start to kind of pick things apart. But I think, he had a poor game, but it wasn't the only one. But certainly, certainly to your point, when he's off it, it's a big miss to the side.
The other guy, of course, who's by the manager's own admission after the match, we are over-reliant on at the moment, and I don't think anyone with functioning eyes would deny it, James, is of course Alfredo Morelos. And I thought his goal was a thing of absolute beauty. Now, at first I thought, well, that's Bergkamp-esque. Now you can say, well, did he mean the touch? Well, see, even if he doesn't mean the touch, the reaction to it is lightning quick. I mean, it goes beyond the reaction. It's into just anticipation. It's just instinct. And then the finish is superb. I don't know what was better, the turn or I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say he meant it, by the way. But even if he didn't, the reaction to that touch and then to go spin the defender, get on the end of it and finish it all pretty much in a split second was world class.
The key word you used there was instinct, and he's developed that immeasurably over this season, that goal scorer's instinct, which we saw already in his first season, but it's improved so much. And he looks, when he's in the box, every time I feel confident he's going to score, especially with a chance like that. I'm with you. I give him the benefit of the doubt in that, because I think from what we've seen from him throughout the season, it's not beyond him to mean that move and to get himself into a position where he's essentially one-on-one with the keeper. And the ball in is, it's not a bad ball. At least it's finding that gap. It's a decent ball,
yeah, but it's not.
Yeah, but it has to.
It's not putting it on a plate. He'll get an assist, but really Alfie should get the goal and the assist, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely. No, that's what I mean. He's got so much work to still do with that, and he does it. And again, the frustration that he's going through in that game because he doesn't find that, and he's a very emotional player, and he lets that emotion show. And when it doesn't come off him, you can see the head kind of go down, and you see him get angry. But he is more often than not, I think, able to channel that anger in such a way that he's able to produce something like that. So, yes, we are absolutely over reliant on him. He's a player who I think, I think we need to, sadly, I think we need to enjoy what we get from him while we still can. But I think we can get a very, very good amount of money for him, and I think that's going to really help us in our summer recruitment for what we need, about maybe 4 or 5 players that can go into that starting lineup and really make a difference.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally
absolutely. Don't be looking at trying to just fill the squad with numbers, etc. You're absolutely able to get, for the fee that you're going to get from Morelos, 5 guys who are absolutely going to get into that starting lineup and be those players that we are currently missing.
You see, this is something that, in the doom and gloom that follows a bad result, but more accurately, a poor spell of performance. And I think you can go back, really, bar one 3-game run to after the winter break. Rangers just haven't performed consistently at all throughout that period. And obviously, it's now 10 points behind Celtic. Looks a wee bit too far now. It probably was before, but it certainly looks it now. And of course, there's a lot of anger, a lot of frustration among the support. But for me, if you look at the results, a lot of it comes down to stupid points lost to draws. Games we should have won. And I can pick out 5 off the top of my head, and boom, there's your 10 points. It really is like that. Whereas I can't think of too many where I think, oh, we stole that. Maybe St Johnstone away with the last minute winner. But overall, Rangers have kind of had to play well to win. And when we have, we've been capable of sweeping teams away. But when we haven't played well, we don't have that ability. Either mindset or, in my opinion, quality, or both is probably most accurate. We don't have those guys who turn draws into victories. And I think, in a way, it's limited progress, because last season we didn't have guys who could stop us getting, absolutely trolleyed sometimes. But we lack the guys who can turn Saturday into 3 points, who could turn Hibs the other week into 3 points. And that's what we need in the summer. So while the gap is huge, it's 10 points, you can't deny it. The frustrating thing as a fan to me, Chris, is that I think that we are in the right direction, but we desperately need an injection of quality, not squad players, not guys to come in and challenge. We need guys who can come in, get the first team spot, and then really make it their own, and drive up the level of the guys who are squad players, drive them up to improve, because there's now serious quality at the club and serious competition.
Well, when you look at the league table, yeah, it's 10 points, and it is, I think it's too far now. But there's only 4 draws in it. We've had 4 more draws than Celtic for the same amount of defeats. And if you look at, I can pick out the 4 straight away where we should have won. Aberdeen in the first day of the season, Motherwell 3 each, Dundee at Dens Park, and Hibs at home when they scored in the 86th minute.
And that's not even taking into account the 2 Hibs games away where we battered them and drew.
Yeah, no, absolutely as well, yeah. But the Hibs game at Ibrox was more frustrating for me because the fact that, we were 1-0 up and we conceded in the last 5 minutes.
Well, from a winning position, yeah.
Yeah, and effectively that's the difference. And I mean, you said that's not including the 2 Easter Road. I'm also not including the 2 draws with Kilmarnock at Ibrox, you know what I mean? It's just... we are missing that player that can turn draws into wins, because that is the biggest problem that we have at the moment is getting that final bit of quality in matches to see teams off. Rangers are quite predictable this season. If Rangers get a goal in the first 15 minutes, they're going to get another 2 or 3 and sweep the time aside, as you said, David. But see if Rangers don't get a goal in the first half, the writing's on the wall almost in terms of we're going to drop points. I think I wasn't the only one that thought when Kilmarnock scored that goal and it went into half time 1-0 up, this is going to be repeat Aberdeen. They're going to be camped in their box. We're going to be going for the equaliser, and then they're going to catch us in the break and score a second.
I did worry about that at half time. Yeah, I worried. I thought I've seen this match this week.
So, but what you're saying though, in comparison with last season to this season, last season we would absolutely fold, and we get spanked off teams. This season it's now a case of, okay, we're not getting beat, but we're not winning either. So we obviously need to find the players in the summer that can do that. Just on the Morelos thing, obviously we would get a lot of money for him. I'd really, really hope we do not sell him. If you gave me the option just now, I'd rather sell Tavernier, because it's all very well fine saying if Morelos gets us 15 million off, we can reinvest that in quality players. But that's fine. But you're not going to replace Morelos. That's the thing. I mean, to replace a player like Morelos, how much is that going to cost on top of the players that we need as well at the moment? So
you're not going to replace him at all. That's a fact. Yeah. But I think that what you can try to do is make the team better, because right now we are totally reliant on one guy. And you're right. Maybe I don't know, but maybe it's better to have 3 or 4 guys who are good as opposed to one who's brilliant. Or really good, at least. I don't know, but that is definitely the catch-22.
I'd agree with that point of view as well, that you have to, I think, you sell one great player and you get, because the problem is we are over-reliant on one guy. So what you do is if you get in the money from him and you can spend it on a number of guys who can take on that mantle, and sometimes it's going to be one of them and sometimes it's going to be a collective. I think in this situation, both him and also Tavernier, I think are the two that we can get money for, and I believe that with that you can buy 5 players who are all going to come straight in and are all going to take on that mantle. For me, I disagree with Chris that we should, if the opportunity comes up, sell them for that 15 to 20 million. But to be honest, minimum 20 million we should be looking for. If that bid doesn't come in, then we keep him, and that's great. And we hope that we've got guys in there that can improve that. But if that does come in, then we absolutely should take it.
I don't think we're going to be positioned to not do it anyway. So I think it might be, unfortunately, it might be a little bit of an academic question. But the manager faces criticism, and deservedly so, because the results haven't been good enough. And as James said there, we tend to play much of a muchness at times, and we see the same things that happen time after time. I don't sense any groundswell of serious opposition to him. I think most people realise that there has been progress, not as much as we would like, but progress. And that he, as a young manager, he was going to make mistakes. We all said it at the start of the season, but of course it's a lot easier to say it in theory than to have to live with it. But he's made errors this season. It's about whether or not you believe that he will learn and grow from them. And as I say, when people say, well, he hasn't learned, and you're like, yeah, it's still, 8 months into his managerial career, mate. That's not quite how it works, unfortunately. He will develop through time. But I agree that time at a club like ours is always limited. But I think while we'd accept that he definitely has questions to answer, Chris, I think that there is still the realistic possibility. I don't think we're deluding ourselves to say that equally when he goes away, looks at the season as a whole, reflects on it over the summer, comes back, gets the right player, that there's still very much the opportunity for him to go on and win trophies with us.
Well, that's the thing. He's not going to go away at the end of the season, assess it, and go, no, nothing much needs changed. Really,
no, he's not. He's not.
He is going to change things, and he will learn. I mean, he is going to make mistakes, and he will learn for it. I totally subscribe to that, and that is what's going to happen. But he can't put things right in the next match immediately in the next match, because he can only use the players that he's got right now. And
whittle with the willy he's waving.
Yes, I believe that's one for a better saying. It's going to take time, and we aren't going to be able to properly assess if he's learnt his lessons or not until the first, second, third or fourth match of next season. And I understand that's frustrating to people, and it's frustrating to me as well, but let's not get carried away, guys. Let's not say let's get him out or anything like that, because he's done a decent job up until now. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't think he's done a brilliant job or a good job. I expected a little better, which is probably my kind of expectation as a Rangers.
I don't think that's unreasonable. I think you're still very much in the terms of reasonableness there. And I think what it does come down to is that as much as people may have decided, he's not got it or whatever, let's just change. We cannot, just simply cannot sack a manager every 7 months because they haven't won the league or haven't got particularly close to winning the league, and give a new guy 10 million in the summer and say, right, go and build a championship winning team, because the odds on us doing that are pretty long. And unfortunately, we're going to need some stability, and we need to let him. We knew this. We need to let him grow into the role. But Jesus, the growing pains are frustrating, and anyone who says that they're not is somewhat deluding themselves. But wasn't helped by a comedy goal at the weekend, James, that we conceded. As I said, just a long ball over the top. Two of the defenders stepped up, two didn't. Connor Goldson then gets caught under the ball slightly. And Alan McGregor, who had a weird game, he got booked for running out to complete, I thought harshly, but he was going tonto throughout the game at the ref, at his defence. And then he makes a poor decision, which is unlike him, to come out, realises he can't really do anything when he gets there because you can't risk, or he'll be off. You can't risk a tackle going wrong, and basically just is in total no man's land, allowing the Kilmarnock forward to just take the ball around him and put it away. And it was such a horrific goal to give away that it just knocked the stuffing out of the fans for a bit. But any slight concerns that maybe just somebody needs to take Alan aside and say the suspension was a shocker, but you've got to calm down. Although the other side, and this is kind of where I am, is I just think he cares, and I think he's as frustrated as we are about these shitty results, and I think it's driving him up the wall, and that's kind of where I am on it.
I always worry watching McGregor in the way that he speaks to referees. I always worry that a ref is going to turn around and be like, no, I'm not going to let you speak to me like that. There's a yellow card. Whether that's right or not, I don't know. It seems daft to think that, but it's always at the back of my mind, and that's maybe a question more about referee competency, etc. But I think it did. I think what had happened there, and clearly, the fact that he got booked did affect his judgment, because he didn't want to barge into the player for risk of getting another booking and getting sent off.
Couldn't take the risk. And I'd have been more annoyed at him if he had run out, mistimed the tackle and got sent off. Sometimes you've got to just accept you've made a mistake and let them score. It's one of my pet hates is, for instance, when a defender gets caught with a long ball and he hauls the guy back and gets sent off in a penalty, and I'm like, well, mate, just let him have the shot. A, you never know. And B, now we're down to 10 men and facing a penalty, which is worse. So I realised once he got there, I think he's went, shit, I've got to let him do it. And look, my view on it is our season would have been in a considerably worse state if Alan McGregor hadn't been a part of it.
Oh, God, yeah. No, he's been so important and is on, that for me, a 3-man shortlist for Player of the Year because of the importance and some of the match-winning performances that he has put in. A lot of people, when they talk about that captaincy thing, they will reference McGregor and say, he's clearly the leader on the park, etc. He's certainly not shy at barking orders, particularly to whoever's playing at left back. Not many things change in life, and yes, that's a good thing. But sometimes if you're kind of communicating in such a way that can almost alienate as well, and what you need is strong characters to respond to that. I don't think we have that at the moment, so that's maybe part of the recruitment thing again, is can you bring in guys that can deal with that? For me, McGregor, if Tavernier was to go, I would make Alan McGregor the captain. Personally, I think he'd be the ideal fit for that. But there maybe is a debate, and I don't know either way at the moment. There maybe is a debate over whether the way he's expressing himself is that necessarily the best way of doing that, or is that the only way he can do that as well? I suppose is the other argument.
Chris, I'm kind of in the camp though that the guy's a winner and he's just as pissed off as we are, and I have some sympathy for him. All I would say is that if it is affecting his game, then maybe, then maybe the gaffer needs to say, look, right, come on, we're all pissed off, but you know, you've got to calm it down. But then we go back, we had a live show at Ibrox on Friday night with Kevin Thompson, and we mentioned Alan McGregor, and he burst out laughing and said, "Oh, he fucking took it out in Sasha," and said, "Oh, the boys felt so sorry for Sasha Papac." It's kind of just who he is, isn't it?
And there's an argument there that it brought Sasha Papac on.
Yeah, well, I mean, he played well, didn't he? If we had a left back that could play as well as Sasha Papac did, I'd take 10 Sasha Papacs tomorrow.
Yeah, no, so would I. I love that guy. But in terms of McGregor, and his, let's call it, his passion.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Don't curtail that. No, that's how McGregor is. I mean, I don't think it affects his game. I think what's affected his game recently has been the suspension, because I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but see, every time something happens, to a player or to him, it's almost as if you can see him referencing the fact that he gets sent off against Aberdeen for something like similar or something, and it's still in the back of his mind, I think, and I think that's why he's kind of shown his frustration a lot more to the referees, purely because of the inconsistencies. But if you look back at McGregor under Walter, Money bastard then, wasn't he? Nothing's changed. It's who he is. He's a winner. He's frustrated. He's a Rangers fan. The problem that he's got is this time around, the players in the park, the 10 guys in front of him aren't as good as the guys that were in front of him previously.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to bring them up to standard. But no, I wouldn't change him. I wouldn't change him for the world, actually. By far the best keeper in Scotland.
Yeah.
Happy that he's retired now from Scotland duty. I think he came out and said that he done that for his body. No, he didn't. I think he done that because he got that red card and he's had enough for the SFA, which is fair enough. I think on Saturday, the goal, I'm actually going to be slightly harsh on him. I think that it was his fault. I know that Goldson got caught under the ball, but if McGregor stayed in, Katic was coming round, I think, which would have meant that McElhenney would have had to beat Katic to get through on goal.
But you love Katic though. You probably believe that even if he did get there, that Katic
he was going to win the ball, wasn't he? He was going to win the ball and start our counter attack.
Start with the score. So you're right. Actually, we'll put the blame on him. But no, I agree with your points. I think he is who he is, and I wish we'd more like him, in all honesty. But we just don't want to see him getting picking up more suspensions through being pissed off about his previous suspension.
There is that.
Now, one incident I want to talk about before we move on from the game is Kilmarnock, who have developed a bit of an uppity streak round us at the moment. And unfortunately, as frustrating as it is, it's because we're not beating them and because they're up near us in the league. It's that simple. Unless we are beating these diddy teams like Killie and Aberdeen regularly and by a few goals, and we're not, then we've got to accept this. We hope the players don't accept it, but we can't really argue back against it because these teams are getting the results that enables them to have a chirp at us, and the way to shut them up is to get the results that stop it. But over and above Kilmarnock's tactics, and this is incidentally why I spoke about this on one of our shows on Patreon, that I don't subscribe to the Steve Clarke genius theory. I think he's a good manager. Kilmarnock are exceptionally well organised. They really are. But there's a reason why he only gets to a certain level as a manager, and that's because it's great that he can do that and being able to get his 2 banks of fours or whatever. But at a club like us, or dare I say it, the one across the road, you need a bit more than that because you need to go and win matches, and that's a limitation. But fair enough. It sounds like I'm having a complaint about his tactics. I'm genuinely not. It's up to Rangers to be better. It's up to Rangers to win those matches, and we haven't been good enough to do it against Kilmarnock or against Aberdeen, and that's down to us. We need to look in the mirror and we need to develop a way to beat them. But one of the things that did annoy me about Kilmarnock is their, shall we say, robust tackling, followed by their moaning afterwards about a couple of tackles they received, because Malumbu should have been sent off. He had at least 3 bookable offences that I counted, somehow managed only to pick up 1. There were several other piss-poor tackles going on. And, of course, the only thing Kilmarnock focused on, and therefore the only thing the media focused on, was a tackle by Conor Goldson at the end that he got booked for. Should have been a red card, in my opinion. Anyone disagree?
No.
Nah, he had to make the foul, incidentally. So even if he'd had a red card, I wouldn't have been too annoyed because he had to make the foul. But afterwards, of course, chip on the shoulder, gripe comes out. And one of the things as well, one of the players on social media with the most idiotic thing I think I've ever seen, Steven Gerrard had said that we conceded a terrible goal. And he said, does anyone ever score a good goal against this lot? Well, I don't know about you, mate, but when we concede a goal, we don't tend to look at what the opposition did. We tend to look at what we did, you fucking muppet. And yes, from our point of view, every goal we concede is a bad goal, you dick. But moving on to a former Rangers player, guy by the name of Kirk Broadfoot. Now, there are some ex-players who are legends, and that's not a term that will ever be attached to Kirk Broadfoot. But I think in most fans' eyes, Broadfoot was a guy who did his best for us, did well for us, a limited player, as he was famously called. But, he earned his wage when he was with us. He won medals. I don't think many people had much against him. But his behaviour recently, going back to the Ryan Jack incident last season, if there's a thing I hate in a footballer, it's sneaky cowardness, James. And on Saturday, we see an incident at half-time where it looks as though Alfredo Morelos has shoved him in the chest. And, of course, everybody who's not connected with Rangers or not follower of Rangers starts, Morelos, blah, blah. The usual kind of witch hunt that happens anytime Alfie farts in the direction of an opposition player. And when you see the incident back, Broadfoot very deliberately walks up behind him, has a wee sneaky look, and then runs his studs down the back of Alfredo's Achilles, which, if you've ever had happen to you folks, is very, very painful and not very pleasant at all. And Alfie reacts. Now, this is a guy who, as I say, like the cowardly cheat that he is, decides he's going to walk up, try and hurt an opposition player, not just with the intention of hurting them, but with the intention that the player will get upset and then maybe get sent off. I think this is vile. I think that's utter scumbag behaviour from a guy who I think is showing over his time at Kilmarnock that he is nothing but a scumbag.
It's cowardly behaviour. It's sneaky, it's unnecessary, and he's got form for that. You remember last season, we won a penalty late on. He does something similar. Yeah, Ryan Jack, that's right.
Then
and
goes
Jack
down
gets sent off.
as if he's been shot to try and get him sent off. Yep, he does.
That's right, yeah. So he's done that before. It's just, that's clearly a tactic that either he has thought up himself or Steve Clarke has told him along the lines of, wind him up, get him sent off. That is small club mentality. And your point on, the way that they've reacted, yeah, of course, they're going to milk it for all it's worth, because when we start thumping them properly again, then they'll not have anything really to say. So that's all they can do. They can only milk it for what it's worth at the moment. And yeah, just a horrible, vile, stupid, unnecessary moment from a guy who really changed the term having egg on your face.
Chris, he's from Paisley. Defend him.
Broadfoot. What I'll say about Broadfoot
Actually, I think he's from Ayrshire. So
he's from
probably defend him. Tarbolton's in Ayrshire,
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That might explain a lot if you've ever been to Tarbolton. It's not known for producing rocket scientists.
This is a guy, right? See, when I was 17, the day he signed for Rangers, I was actually working for St Mirren, and I spoke to him. This is genuinely the truth, and I says, "You delighted?" And he's like, "Yeah, been a Rangers fan all my life." And I believe that he is a Rangers fan, because you could tell he was really, really happy to be with us when he was a player. Probably couldn't believe his luck, to be honest. But what is he playing at? Rangers men don't do that. Even if you're an opposition player, I can't remember an ex-Rangers player who played against us and acted like this. Why is he? He knows what kind of reaction he'll get from Morelos. Morelos wasn't in the wrong, by the way. That's not me saying he was in the wrong, because I've actually seen pundits on Twitter, and Tam McManus is one of them, and if he's defending Morelos, you know something's fucking... You know that something's getting wrong there with the opposition player. And McManus actually said Morelos reacted the way anybody would react if you rake your studs down somebody's Achilles. What is that all about from a supposedly
No,
big Rangers man?
if he'd lamped him, then I know that people in our support would have been all over Morelos, and there are times he winds you up when losing. But if somebody did that to me, I think I'd have spun round and punched him without having the second or two to walk. The red mist comes down. It's a horrible thing to have happened to you. It's happened to me in a football pitch, and one, it hurts like fuck, and two, you genuinely just want to go and knock seven bells out the guy. To me, he's entered Whittaker territory now in terms of just, you might have played for us, but you certainly weren't a good enough player to excuse this, and you can, you forget it kind of thing. Well, I mean, there might be people out there who are big Kurt Broadfoot fans, and if so, as you know in this show, one thing we do not do and never will do is sit down before it and go, I'm going to say this about Kurt Broadfoot, so you say that, and we'll have an argument. We don't do that. If we disagree, we'll say it, and we'll disagree with each other, and if we agree, then everyone's on it. So you may be a listener who is a big fan of his, in which case, please let us know, and we'll put your point across. But to me, it was vile, and he should be getting done there, not Morelos. If I've been harsh, I'll make it up to him. I'll send him a dozen eggs, right, and he can hopefully poach them. Right, now that will do us for this week, because there's no game to preview, obviously, with this dreadful international week thingy that we have. So there'll be no Heart and Hand Extra this week, folks, because obviously that's a preview show. We don't get preview, but there will be a Heart and Hand next Monday. So there will be a show next week, but there won't be one on Thursday. Now, we normally at this stage do our Total Heartson Award, but this week we're going to do something a little bit different, in a throwback to the early days of Heart and Hand. There was, of course, the patron saint of Heart and Hand, Mr. Gigi Bacali, former owner of Steaua Bucharest, and all-round, shall we say, colourful character. And James, he's been up to no good again, hasn't he?
Well, I don't think it's that he's been up to no good. He's done an interview in the past couple of weeks, which goes into a lot of things, how he wants to end up kind of selling all this stuff and going into a monastery. And
I think that's a lie. Right, first of all, I don't believe he does.
Yeah, well, yes, make up your own thoughts. How shock horror, he's quite a fan of all things Donald Trump. In fact, there was talk of the...
Yeah, not a huge shock.
No, there was talk of in Romania being a Trump Bacali Tower in Romania, according to him, but that fell through. But I liked this answer most of all when he was asked whether, when he was owner of Steaua Bucharest, did he decide the team? Does he make substitutions during the game? And this was his answer. I see things like this. The boss is the one who suffers the most. Let's say someone herds sheep. If the sheep are not well, the boss is affected, not the shepherd. He is paid to do his job, but he doesn't suffer as much as the owner. When my money is involved, I don't let anyone decide for me. I decide everything. If I see a coach is good, I don't interfere. But I have to feel him first. If he brings me milk, cheese, and wool, it's great. That's what matters to me. It's a question of inches. I have to know everything that's moving at my club. Everything that's happening. I have to study. I have to be informed. He was then asked, do you still keep sheep? Yes, I have around 100.
Well, I think he got a bit confused. If he's been wanting his football managers to bring him milk, cheese and wool, and he's been wanting his shepherds to come up with a way to get past a low block, then you can. It's like one of those crazy Channel 4 shows where people swap jobs for a week, isn't it?
It's a wee bit. It's quite odd. It's actually a really, really fascinating interview, because he also talked about there was this thing that you might have mentioned before, his views on women's football, which he had his views, and he was asked about this, and his answer was, I respect women a lot. I love one woman only. He wanted to make that very clear. Yeah. What I said about women in football was out of love. I think women are sensitive and beautiful, and that they need to be protected, not exposed. They now say I'm crazy and discriminating against women. Who loves women more than me? I have a wife whom I loved until the day I die. Who loves women more? Those who have 2 or 3 girlfriends at a time, or those with 5 or 6 marriages? I don't think a man should get married more than once. I love and protect my wife. Those who leave women, those who treat them badly, who speak dirty in front of them are good, and I am bad, right? Okay, then I'm crazy and they aren't. I am discriminating and they are loving and respecting women.
I love that. He's just had a complete argument with himself. You have to admire that level of headbangery. And I always love that argument. I mean, I love women. My mother was one. It's like people say, I'm not racist. I love Indian food and I have the music of Whitney Houston in the house. It never quite washes. All right, folks, thank you very much for joining us this week on Heart and Hand. We will, of course, be back next week. But if you can't wait, and nor should you, given some of the content we have, you should go to patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Heart and Hand, where you'll find up to 5 shows every single day covering everything to do with Rangers, including current events, obviously, day-to-day news updates, shows on different eras involving the club, comedy shows, quizzes, you name it, we do it. And we also do a whole host of other non-Rangers content as well, both involving football and some not, including these two doing their show patronising. It's like a millennials version of Off the Ball, they told me, which is why I don't listen to it. But they're developing a bit of a cult audience. Is that an L or an N, James? No, it's an L. You're enjoying yourselves, boys, it's fair to say.
Yes. We've never quite get rid of the tag. It's an alternative version of Off the Ball. That was James's fault.
Throw me under the bus, why don't you?
Well,
he's always doing that.
I've been waiting for this opportunity. No, we're a lot better than Off the Ball. A lot better.
That's not really a huge standard, in all fairness.
But that's kind of the standard we've clearly set, though, David, and we're not really aiming much higher.
Don't overpromise and underdeliver. Yep, that's a sensible way of going about it. But it's well worth a listen, folks. It's even just worth it for the wonderful Father Ted gifts that I used to demonstrate it. But in terms of other things, we have an interview tomorrow with Davy Robertson. Next Tuesday actually, with Davy Robertson, who Martin's recorded it today, and he's been in the news recently with the Real Kashmir documentary. But a great Ranger, actually. Davy Robertson was a wonderful player for us in the 90s. I hope you're listening, Kirk Broadfoot. And we'll never interview that prick, eh?
No, I wouldn't even interview him.
No, exactly.
And I'd interview anybody.
You would, if you're an ex-Ranger, even if you've never played or whatever. It's still not the best suggestion for a show we've ever had. A listener once got in touch and he suggested a show called All That Jazz, where he would have discussions with former Rangers youth player Jazz Jutler. I said, "Oh, do you know Jazz?" And he said, "No."
You just get the title and working backwards.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So, I mean, it's a great concept. Jazz, if you're listening, get in touch. But patreon.com/Heart and Hand is just $1.99 per month, and we think you'll enjoy it. Just time to thank our executive producers in London, Mr. Mike Lee and Paul Miles, and to thank my two guests, the wonderful Mr. James Forrest.
Thank you very much, David.
The splendid Mr. Chris Bett.
Thank you, David. And
I will talk to you again next Monday. Until then, folks, you have a great week. Thanks very much for listening. Bye.